We are here to report some good news on the horrible shooting that occurred, causing the death of Ramone Carter, the 3-year-old little boy that was on June 21st on Friday evening, a little after 9 o'clock in the evening. The news is that we reported out an indictment, and the 2 individuals responsible for the murder of this young child have been indicted and remanded after being arraigned by Judge Friedman in the Youth Part Court of Supreme Court. And those arraignments just happened this afternoon. There are 2 individuals that have been charged with this horrific crime. They are a 14-year-old boy and a 16-year-old boy. They have been charged with murder in the second degree, the attempted murder of a targeted individual, another person. We do not believe they were targeting the 3-year-old little boy or his sister, the 7-year-old who was injured. We believe they were targeting another young person, and that they shot the little boy, Ramone Carter, instead. They are charged with 1 count of murder in the second degree under an accomplice liability theory, meaning that they were acting together. They are also charged with 1 count of attempted murder, that being the intended target of the shooting, and 1 count of assault in the second degree. All 3 of those charges, again, are on an attempted or an accomplice liability theory. And finally, they have each been charged separately with a count of criminal possession of a weapon in the second degree for the possession of firearms. Each of them are charged with having a different firearm. The one young man had a revolver, and the other young man had a pistol. They have been arraigned this afternoon in front of Judge Friedman. The case is scheduled to be returned before Judge Friedman on July 24th at 9 a.m. And, this is the conclusion, at least this stage of the proceedings, of a really, as I mentioned, a horrific and tragic event that just happened, less than 4 days ago. We're here because of the tremendous commitment and dedication of not only the mayor, but of all the people that he has put in place, including the 2 men standing with me here today, Commissioner Gramaglia and Chief Macy, and all of the people that work for them. The detectives that worked on this case, the Buffalo Police Department, patrol officers that worked on this case, a tremendous amount of work and effort that went into the last 3.5 days to bring this to a quick result. It was obviously shocking to the community and is really horrible and tragic, and I know that the family of this young boy is very emotional about this, so it was important to all of us up here to make sure that we literally worked round the clock for the last 3.5 days to bring this matter to where we're able to report this indictment for you today. We also, in addition to the Buffalo Police Department, we had great cooperation from the county. County Executive Mark Poloncarz has authorized the workers for the county that work in the CPS lab to work over the weekend, helping us analyze the evidence that had been recovered. And in addition to them, the lawyers from our office. We have had 4 lawyers working on this case essentially since Friday evening. One of our deputy district attorneys, our homicide bureau chief, one of our homicide assistant district attorneys, and our Raise the Age bureau chief. All of them have been working collaboratively with members of the Buffalo Police Department, again, because we are committed to bringing this case to justice. It was a horrible tragedy, and the family is still in shock and still mourning, I'm sure. And this is unusual that we were able to do this so quickly. It's again, I think it's important to point out to the public how important it is to have the cooperation of the witnesses that have helped us bring this matter to where we are today, where the 2 people that are responsible for this horrible tragedy are in custody, and they have been remanded, and we expect to be able to keep them in custody for a long time. Now, it's always important for me to point out that these are allegations at this time, but we intend on being and proceeding forward with this matter in criminal court. Now, as I mentioned, the one person is 14 years old, the other person is 16 years old. I am not allowed to mention their names here, and but they are the 16-year-old will be facing the normal sentence as an adult on a murder in the second degree, which is the minimum, as you're all aware, is 15 to life. The maximum is 25 to life. Now, with respect to the 14-year-old, he faces a different sentence because of his age and his status as a juvenile offender. This matter, again, will be handled in the youth part of Supreme Court, and the 14-year-old is facing a potential sentence of 7.5 years to life and a maximum of 15 years to life. So, at this point, that concludes my remarks, and I want to turn this over to Mayor Brown for further comments.
Thank you, District Attorney Keene. This is a tragedy. The killing of a 3-year-old child in our community is a tragedy. I want to thank District Attorney Keene and his staff for their incredible work on this case, their hard work, their collaboration with the Buffalo Police Department. I want to thank Commissioner Gramaglia and Chief of Detectives Macy and all of the members of the Buffalo Police Department that worked so hard on this case, worked nonstop on this case. The shooting occurred on Friday. We are here on Monday, 3 days later, with the people who are responsible in custody. So I am very thankful for that. A 3-year-old baby boy killed, his 7-year-old sister wounded by gunfire. And what makes this even more tragic is that those who are charged with this crime are 14 years old and 16 years old. So literally, babies killing babies. It was inadvertent. It appeared that they were targeting someone else, but the fact that these children had guns and were so willing to use them indiscriminately is what brings us to this point today. So again, I want to thank the District Attorney Keene. I want to thank his staff. I want to thank the Buffalo Police Department, who worked this case with great compassion for the family, with great sensitivity to the loss of this child's life, and did it swiftly so the family could find some measure of peace and comfort. Now I will turn things over to Buffalo Police Commissioner Joseph Gramaglia.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you. Standing here, it's a big conflict of emotions because we shouldn't be here. We shouldn't have a baby dead. We shouldn't have a wounded child, and we shouldn't have children that is alleged to be responsible for this. But here we are again dealing with the situation. We worked very hard. This police department and district attorney's office worked very hard to get a rapid conclusion to this case. If there's some semblance of closure we can bring to the family, that's getting where we are today is the announcing of these cases. I want to thank Chief of Detectives Macy leading this investigation with Detective Chris Sterlace, Detective Mark Constantino, Detective Judy Walker, Detective Jen Zangi, worked nonstop on this case along with other members of the homicide squad. They were able to work this case the way they were because of the exceptional work of patrol officers in E District, C District, and every other district that responded that night, because there was a wide response to that call that night. Patrol officers that night were on scene rapidly, I mean rapidly. And as you heard me say the other day, they were able to get that poor baby into a police car, race the baby to ECMC to try to give him a fighting chance. Unfortunately, we all know that wasn't the outcome, and the baby was declared dead at the hospital at that time. But those officers, 2 officers and a lieutenant, I commend them for the quick action. But I also commend the other officers because a quick description went out, and they got 2 individuals that night and recovered what has now been forensically linked, connected to the case. It's exceptional police work that really enabled our detectives to do the work that they're doing, that they were able to do all weekend. Really a tremendous amount of police work. And this is it's a heavy lift on the officers who respond to that call. They have to deal with the emotions, but yet still go on and do their job the way they did it. They did it professionally. They did it exceptionally. I'm very proud of the work of this police department. I'm very proud of the work of the district attorney's office. Was on the phone that night from the scene with the district attorney. His staff was already in. His attorneys were already in. They were working on it. Constant communication with chief of detectives. It was on scene as well. So. We throw everything we can, every resource we can at all of these homicide cases, but ultimately this one also came to fruition because of community involvement. The community involvement came together, they did the right thing, they came forward, they helped us, they provided leads, they provided tips, and they really helped us get this over the hump. When we're the witnesses, when we witness a crime, we're the witnesses. We come in and we take, we're able to bring that evidence into court. But so often on these cases, we are not the witnesses and we rely on the community. And we always know there's community witnesses out there, and they stepped up and they really helped out. So I thank the community for all of their involvement as well. With that, I'll turn it back over to District Attorney for any questions. Thank you.
Any questions?
Any of these teenagers have any prior arrests or anything of that nature?
We can't talk about that right now.
Do you have any evidence that they might be gang related, the shooting?
That's another thing we shouldn't really talk about at this moment, the motive.
Do we have any idea how they got those guns? And if not, can we just talk about the fact that, as you were saying, Mayor, these are babies killing babies, these babies that got a hold of guns?
Yeah, I mean, I with respect to, where the guns came from and how they got them, that's evidence that we don't want to talk about at this moment. And as far as, a 14-year-old and a 16-year-old using guns, first of all, this is an intentional act, okay? There is no mistake that they intended to fire those guns. That's the allegation. That's the indictment that the grand jury returned. And I'll say again, these are allegations at this point. But it was, these guns were clearly fired in an intentional manner. The 3-year-old, we don't believe, was the target. But when you fire a gun, there's a good chance if you're firing at somebody, someone's going to end up dead. And so this was an intentional act. While it's alarming that it's a 14 and a 16-year-old doing it, it's an unfortunate society that we're living in today. And we are going to prosecute these kids to the fullest extent of the law, even though they are kids. There's a completely innocent child that is now gone, and his family is going to have to suffer and live with that. And quite honestly, it's not just the family, it's the community. The community was shocked at this. As the mayor said, already about this case, this is a tragedy for the entire community. So while it is shocking and hard to understand, 14 and 16-year-old, we're going to prosecute them to the fullest extent of the law.
What is your message to parents in the city after something like this happens?
I think I'll let the mayor handle that one.
My message to the city is we continue to reach out to our youth. We continue to provide safe spaces to our youth. But crimes like this will not be tolerated. You've seen the swift work of the Buffalo Police Department and the tremendous cooperation of the District Attorney's Office. And I would say to parents, they need to know where their children are. They need to know what their children are involved with. And they need to know what their children have in their possession. This is a tragic circumstance. And this is not the usual thing that happens in this community where a baby boy is killed by two other children inadvertently. So we need parents to step up and do even more. We need parents to pay attention to what their children are doing, because we want our children to grow up in a safe, secure environment so that they can be productive members of society.
Are there any possible consequences for the parents?
Not in the criminal justice system in New York State. I know you've seen that, and that's probably what you're referring to in other states. But there's not a similar law as to what I think you're referring to in New York.
Are we allowed to disclose how many shots were fired from the guns that were used in this crime?
Yeah, well, we do know the answer to that, but I don't want to disclose that evidence at this time.
And if if I remember correctly, they weren't ghost guns, but they were illegal guns. Is that correct?
They were illegally possessed guns. Yes.
What did you say the weapons were again?
One was a pistol and one was a revolver.
Do you mean by pistol, like an automatic or semi-automatic?
A pistol it doesn't discharge a cartridge when it's fired. It's
Okay.
like the old guns you'd see in a Western.
Any other questions?
I'm sorry, that's the revolver.
Yeah, well, yes.
And just to reiterate here,
Semi-automatic.
you said it's so unusual to bring up these charges so quickly after an incident like this because of that police work and everyone coming together so quickly.
Yeah, I mean, we literally worked around the clock on this. You know, the dedication that Commissioner Gramaglia described by his police officers and the detectives, as well as our lawyers. It was, this is shocking to the entire community, and the mayor's right. This is very, very unusual. We haven't seen these kinds of crimes, very, very infrequently. But when it happens, it's important that we send a message to the community. And again, to echo what Commissioner Gramaglia said, this is a great example of, having community cooperation. And when the community and the witnesses in the community cooperate with us, we can bring a matter to swift conclusion like we have in this case.
Can you tell us in relationship to the target where the children were, or how that?
That's getting too into the details, into the evidence. I wouldn't want to share that at this time. And the reason for that, just so you know, is that, there's more investigation to be done. There are more witnesses, and we don't want to put out evidence into the public sphere that might, then taint the potential credibility of a witness.
Are the suspects being represented by public defenders, or do they have attorneys?
They both have attorneys. Whether they're public defenders or not, I don't want to comment on.
And both in custody.
Yes, they're both in custody.
Where? Can you tell us where they're in custody?
They will be at the East Ferry Detention Center, both of them. For now, I think eventually they may be transferred, but for now, that's where they are.
Did the pistol violate the SAFE Act in terms of the number of rounds?
No, I don't believe so.
Is the family, were they aware that there were two people charged in connection to this?
Yes, the family is aware. We've been in contact with the family as the mayor and his office and the Buffalo Police Department. All three of our departments have been in communication with the family.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.